Anybody out there jumping on this? If anybody's out there, let me know how this looks or how this sounds. I'm getting some kind of thing that streaming currently vibrates and higher than the recommended whatever. So shoot me a thumbs up or anything like that. Been away for 2 weeks down in my house in Florida. Anybody out there who's joining me? Say hello. Hey, Clive. Good to see you. Does this sound okay? I'm doing good, man. I had a great 2 weeks down at the house in St. Augustine. So we're going to chat a little bit about the Duke Ellington tune called "Ain't Got Nothing But the Blues," and we'll take a look at the chord changes and how Robin Ford did it, and how Ella did it, and a bunch of other people. And then I want to talk a bit about my concept of what diatonic harmony is. It might be enlightening. You may all be aware of it, but you might not. And so it might open up some ideas, simplify the whole topic. Who else is out there? Hello, Mary Taylor. Everything sounds good out there, Miss Mary? So we'll give it about another 2 minutes, and then I'll start my dissertation. right, the old Duke Ellington tune. Ain't got nothing but the blues. Written by Duke Ellington and the lyrics by Don George. I think he wrote "Beginning to See the Light." He wrote "The Yellow Rose of Texas." So I guess he was a pretty prolific, lyricist. Anyway, let's take a brief look at it. I guess we'll pull from the Robin Ford thing, and we'll isolate some of the little turnarounds that seem to be pretty prominent in his version. It's if you listen to Joe Williams sing it, you listen to Ella sing it. I'm trying to think of who else I know of that did it. I think Billie Holiday did it. There's a lot of versions of it. Amongst guitar players, I think the Robin Ford one is the most common. I mean, Robin's a great guitar player, great sound. This was on his "Talk to Your Daughter" album, I think. So I did a quick chart on it just to show you some of the things. I mean, but it's a pretty basic chord progression with a little kind of like an 8-bar blues with a bridge, which is a cycle 5 bridge, almost like rhythm changes. But Robin and whoever did the arrangement for him had some really nice chord voicings, and we'll go through them. You know, just like George Benson said, if you don't want me to steal it, don't play it in front of me. So my attitude is analyze the things, get into the people's heads of what they did, whether it's Charlie Parker or George Benson or Wes or Duke Ellington or whoever, and get these ideas and get them under your fingers and reapply them. That's pretty much all we do. It's like learning a language. You learn a sentence, you learn a new $500,000 word that is impressive, and you learn how to put it in a sentence, and after a while it's yours, and you speak with it freely, and you sound like a Rhodes Scholar. Well, that's what we're working towards as far as playing music. Anyway, let me click this on here, and I'll put it on the screen, and we'll take it step by step. Let's see. And there it is. I'll move it out of the way, make it smaller. All right, it'll be out of the way soon. There it is. All right, so let's take a look at the first A section. Of course, he starts it with an F7 sharp 9 chord with a sharp 5 on top, and we have this sound. Right, that's how he starts the tune. Then the first chord changes a B flat 7 or B flat 13, and it goes up a half step, which is nothing more than a 5/7 to 1. It's a flat 5 substitute taking you back to the B flat. Then he does a 2/5 to the 6 chord. Flat 5 substitute, that's really D7 or A flat 7. Then G minor, and this is that very unique sound of his, which is a C9 flat 5. And I think he uses a voicing like this. So, let's see. And then we have, here's a nice little walk up. It's just C minor 7 to F7. But he does it, as opposed to something that I would do, he does it in full chords with a minor 7 sharp 5. But it's really all C minor going to F7. And this is bar 5/6, okay, and we have E flat major 7 is the same as C minor, and then F7 sharp 9, and he does a similar on the first turnaround. Here it comes, B flat. So here's the first 8 bars. Turn around. So there's a lot of things we can pick apart there um, that are extremely useful. This turnaround, this 2-5 thing is great. You don't have to do it exactly the same voice. You can go, and that E7, that E7, E diminished seventh is kind of like 5/7 going to the F7 right before you jump into it. So if I play it, I'll play different voicings just to show you what that's like. All right, here it is again. Here's the C7 right before you go into the F7, F7 sharp 9. So that's something definitely worth lifting and reapplying. Same as the first turnaround. B flat 13, put the third in the bass of the B flat 7, and he harmonizes that bass line. Here's the E flat, here's that same, okay? And it brings you back, okay? Now let's take the A section again, and let's go through to the second ending, and that leads you in with a E flat 13 chord that takes you to the D9, okay, which is nothing more than 5/7 going to D. All right, E flat 7 is the same as A7, so it's a secondary dominant taking you to D. But here it is. Here's the top to the second ending. D7, G7, C7, and here's the same thing for the 2-5. Okay, and that covers pretty much the majority of the tune. Of course, he modulates at the end. His version goes up. It goes up to, I think, the key of C. So it jumps up from B flat to C. He does that towards the last chorus. But great arrangement. So if you look at the bottom, I have 2 examples of the very things that we can pull from this and reapply. I mean, you can reapply all of it, but these are just 2 things that stick out in this arrangement that kind of are signature to what I think, is the essence of his cover of Nothing But the Blues. And it's a lot different. Well, I shouldn't say a lot different, but it's, the feel and everything else is just different than the ones you hear of Duke or Ella, which are a little bit more, well, they're dated, and Robin brought this up to, I think this was done in what, maybe the late 80s, early 90s. I don't have the album with me nearby. But but let's look at example one, and that's that walk up, and it's really C minor 7. If you notice on the bottom, I show you what the basic analysis is, which is C minor 7 going to F7, 2-5 to B flat. All right, but he harmonizes this bass line, starts on the C. Okay, and here it is and what he chose to harmonize it. You can harmonize it a lot of ways, and I'll show you some of them as we go through this. But here's his. Okay, that's what was on his. Now, if you listen to him on different live recordings, you'll notice that he doesn't play it the same way all the time, and nor does anybody. And God knows, people who play with me know I don't do anything the same way all the time. So here it is again. Okay, and here's something that I would do maybe. Or another 2-5 you've probably heard me play in the past. They're all sentences that you should get under your belt and make use of, whether you're playing it behind people or you're playing it as a solo piece or you're playing whatever. Just reapply it. Take it, put it in your hard drive. Hopefully it'll spit out when you need it. And the same thing goes, if you're playing over these changes, you could make a lot of use out of those. See, so what I did is I played on C minor, which is the same as E flat. Then I went to the E7 flat 9, the C7 flat 9, which is the E diminished 7, and then to F7, back to B flat. Okay. Here's another one. That's one encapsulated little segment that I pulled out. Now here's the other one, which is the turnaround on the first repeat, and that is very similar. What it's really in essence saying is it's saying a 1 to a 4 chord, and this is part of the 4 chord because E diminished is also, we said C7, it's also E flat 7. Okay, so it's also E flat 7. So it's kind of like doing this. Very simple blues turnaround. Just sounds a whole lot more sophisticated because you've harmonized the bass line in it. So here's what we got. B flat 13. Put the 3rd in the bass. Then E flat. Then put the E in the bass, which is still E7 flat 9. Then back to a B flat 7 with either the D in the bass or the 5th in the bass, then 5. And here's what it sounds like in time. 4. Okay, it's just a blues turnaround, any of those. But those are the two things that I extracted from pretty much his basic, his arrangement that we saw on the album Talk to Your Daughter. I do the tune. I use some of these ideas along with everything else that just comes to mind when I do the tune. But there's a lot of fun things in it. It also, let's just go back a little bit. It gives you stuff to play on. I mean, yes, you can play the basic blues, but when I hear this, you know what's pretty about that turnaround he uses? If you have the sharp five of the D minor on top, okay, which is nothing more. If it's all if it's all C minor, it's nothing more than the flat seven on top, right? Because here it is, his C minor seven, so the B flat. Now he moves that to this, and he keeps the B flat, keeps the B flat. I mean, that's pretty. So, anyway, any questions on that little ditty of Robin Ford? It's a great tune. You know, I do it with Miss Mary. I think she does it in the key of F, I think. But it's a great tune. And it's not your typical, you know, straight 1-4-5 blues thing. So, any questions on that? I'll just hang here for a second, then I want to talk about the world of diatonic harmony. I want to kind of shed some light on that. All right, let's talk about some diatonic harmony. May seem boring, may seem a bit over people's heads, but I mean, under people's heads. But let me just click some of these things on here. Let's remove this, and let's talk about this. Okay, we know the C major scale or any major scale our basic major scale, is built of whole steps and half steps. We know that. I think so. And it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. It's basically a measurement. It comes from the chromatic scale, and you go a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, and a half step, and you get what we all know is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? Now, once that has been established, and if you ask most people, what does diatonic mean? What does diatonic mean? I probably would have said the same thing, uh, a number of decades ago. Oh, it's things built of the family of a major key or of a, but that's not exactly um, the, the the true definition, at least in my mind. Um, and that's only because it's called dia. Dia to me means two. You know, diametrically opposed, uh, dichotomy, dialogue. Dialogue happens. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue. Two people have to participate. So let's think that through for a second and figure, what do we really mean about diatonic? What does that mean? Well, in my mind, anyway, it means two. But what is there two of if everything is built from a given major scale? All right. Well, let's kick on uh, this next little ditty, which this is just an explanation, so I'll lose that, of whole steps and half steps, which I just outlined for you. Okay, let's go to here. That's all our scales. Let's lose this. All our scales starting from a different pitch center, but with the same measurement, and that's why there's such a thing as key signatures, right? Because you start on a different pitch center, you start on F, you got to keep the same measurement, so therefore you have to institute a B flat to make the half step in the right place. So hopefully that's everybody understands that. If you don't, just shoot me a question real quick. But I just want to get to the diatonic harmony, so I'm going to pass by this. Bear with me. I got so much stuff stacked in here now. Come on, where are you? Drop two, drop three chord voicings. Here we go. Diatonic system. Let's take a look at it. Okay, let me lose this one. All right, here's our diatonic system in the key of C. Our diatonic triads, our diatonic seventh chords. Seventh chords are basically the stack of four notes tertially or in thirds. So you start on a C, you go to E and G and B. Now, let's look at this for a second. Below, um, isolating away from the triads because they're just a scaled down version of the seventh chords in the diatonic system. You'll see that there's T, S, D, T, S, D, D, T, D. What does that mean? Well, what it means is tonic, subdominant, or some people call them predominant, and dominant. Now, what are the sounds we're talking about? Well, we're talking about a tonic sound, which is restful in the key. We're talking about a dominant sound that's domineering, demanding, like a dominant personality. Okay, it needs some kind of resolution. And then the subdominant that falls in the middle. Okay, well, I like to group subdominant and dominant as one sound. Okay, and I'll tell you why. The most active tone in a major key to me, major scale, is not the B natural, which people would think it would be because it's the leading tone. No, because in my mind, a B natural can be harmonized as a one chord. If it can be harmonized as a one chord, then it takes place in the world of tonic, restful in that major key. Okay, so if it could be harmonized, what note cannot be harmonized and sound tonic, sound restful? Well, that's 4. That's where the other half step is, and that's 4. All right, so you will, if you do a permutation, and I spoke with my buddy Richie Hart, I think you have to go 12 octaves of the harmonic overtone series to ever hit an F natural. You will hit an F sharp, you'll hit a G sharp, you'll hit a bunch of other notes before you ever go perfect fifth, perfect fifth, perfect fifth, all the way stacking up, almost out of the range of the human ear before you ever fall on an F. So, that being said, F natural is the most active tone. That's the tone that makes things go into that other realm. So let's now categorize subdominant or predominant, okay, and dominant as one sound. They all have an F in them. All right? So when you listen to that and you take a simple chord progression like a 1, 6, 2, 5 and play that, as soon as you hit a chord that's dominant, that's from the diatonic system that has an F in it, you hear the tonal quality change and the gravitational pull takes you away and wants you to be dropped back in. Let's listen to that real closely. Okay, 1, 6, 2, there's the F, 5. Now, back when you were a child and someone did that and left you there, you would say, "You're leaving me hanging." Of course, that's innately how we hear. And then we hear it want to go. And there's a B here, right? It's a major 7 chord. 6, that's restful. Movement. Okay, so diatonic to me means 2 sounds. They live within that same system, but there are 2 sounds. One is restful, and one is movement. Okay? It's real simple. Your ear hears it all day long. So, that being understood, the adding of the note F in just, let's say, a 1, 6, 2, 5 automatically brings your ear to the dominant world. You know, you're not going Ionian, Aeolian, Dorian, Mixolydian. I don't know anybody that solos like that. You know, but watch what happens if I'm playing 1, 6, 2, 5, okay? Okay? Now listen, I'm just gonna play 2 chords. Da, 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 I'm not sitting there going Dorian, Aeolian. I'm just making that movement to the dominant world, okay? Now, if you understand that, then you can look back at your major pentatonic scales and realize that when they were first incorporated, our traditional one of C major pentatonic, think about the notes that were extracted from the C scale. Well, they extracted the 4th and the 7th. The most active tone, 4, and the, semi-active tone, the B natural, and they were extracted, and so you wound up playing, okay, and then the dominant sound would be based on everything coming from an F pentatonic or a G pentatonic. Okay, so if you take something like the song like "Breezin'," and I think I made a loop of something like that here. Let me see if I can find it. Can you guys hear that? It's pretty soft. So that's 1-6-2-5 in the key of D. Okay? So now watch. Here's the D. So all I'm really doing is I'm accentuating the fourth degree and making the movement of the dominant sound. I'm not chasing this. Okay, I'm making a melody, and as that sound shifts and goes to the dominant area, okay, I make that move to my dominant area. Now, as you get better at making that sound, you'll realize you don't need accompaniment for people to hear your melodic content and your being so decisive, I guess is a good word, on the chord change. You know where you are in a song, and you're playing those sounds with conviction. Now, once you get that going, then you can superimpose other chords, simply like maybe a flat-5 substitute, to add more of that dominant quality before you come back into the restful area. So I played over an E flat 7 chord at that moment to add more hair, because the more hair you add to it, the dirtier, the more dirty you get that sound, then the more of a release it is when you finally land in that restful or tonic area. So these are things that I don't think. Let me shut my breathing thing off here. These are things that escaped me early on. I mean, I was talking with a former student of mine, and someone I'm very proud of. You might have known him or seen him on here. He's a great, world-class guitar player and educator, Barry Green. I've known Barry since I think he was probably 15 years old. And we were chatting about that. And yes, everybody says diatonic. What does it mean? Oh, the family of. No. Then why call it dia? So dia, there's a reason for dia. And dia means that there's two qualities in that system. One being restful, one being movement. Or if you want to give it a higher definition, one being tonic, one being dominant. It's a simple thing. Dominant personality is a demanding individual, So those are the simple ways I think about it. That was also brought to light with me with my experiences hanging with who I call my big brother, George Benson, is because, we chatted about that. My buddy Richie Hart, who you may or may not know, he's we're dear friends and old Berkeley classmates. He teaches the West course in up at Berkeley still, uh, and Rich, we sit and chat about that. People don't realize you're in the key of C, and as soon as you hit the note F, and you're on a D minor 7 or a G7 or a B minor 7 flat 5 or F major 7, you're in the dominant, the first level of dominance. Um, so so anyway, I hope that kind of sheds a little bit of light on this. Um, any questions about this stuff? I'm like spitting out things, and um, I hope it's landing or lighting up, you know, shining a light on stuff. When you sit and practice, and you realize when you hit the note F that it's moving you to that dominant sound, or the fourth note of any major key, or start to make that um, reference. Not only how are they related to tetrachord? Okay, the tetrachord. Okay, and that could be another dia thing. Clive just asked me, and are we tetrachords always symmetric in the diatonic system? Yes. Well, a diatonic system of a major key, yes. A major scale, yes. And they're joined by a whole step, But if you notice that, the tetrachord does not really determine whether it's a dominant sound or not. It's just basically saying we have two four notes. We have four notes and four notes, and they are symmetric, and we join them with a whole step. Okay. I once had to do a little thesis for one of my former teachers, another great educator, Dennis Sandoli. And he said to me, okay, Russ, I want you to take 2 octaves, and I want you to write out every tetrachord. Well, just like a pentatonic scale, any 5 notes is a pentatonic. We just have our traditional ones. Well, any 4 notes is a tetrachord, okay? And so I wound up with volumes and volumes and volumes of any different ways of grouping 4 notes, and that's only remaining within 2 octaves. So was it laborious? Absolutely. Did I learn from it? I don't know. It was another one of those things to justify the statue of the thinker. It made me think a lot, but yeah, I guess you could say a tetrachord and a tetrachord. That's a dia, 2 of them. There's 2 of those, But let me see. I am just on the edge of understanding this stuff. Fascinating. So, all right. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying to not think about the tetrachords, but just think about the notes. Okay, I'm going to go one step further. Okay, there was another great educator called George. His name was George Russell, and it was called the Lydian chromatic concept. And what he was trying to teach people, or let people understand, is that if you harmonize a C major 7 all the way through all of its tensions, at least through 2 octaves, you will find that you'll never fall on the note F. You'll fall on F sharp, which takes you to the Lydian world, and I hate to keep using these modal statements, but it takes you to where you hit an F sharp at the top. So I'll play that for you. C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A. Listen to this. C sharp, G sharp. I mean, have I touched an F yet? No. Watch what happens if I even play a C note at the very end. It's like, see, because that's not going up the harmonic series, the overtone series. So what he was trying to say is that that's all tonic. And if you go do the same thing on F, that's all dominant in that key. And you can hear it, even as major 7 chords. Here's a C major 7. Here is F. You hear it's gone there? It's moved. That F's going to want to go down to E. All right? And listen. That's slightly in a different realm. That brings you back. Okay, so that's what George Russell was referring to with his Lydian chromatic concept. Is that when you extend the major 7 to the 9 and then the 11, it's the sharp 11, which is derivative of the Lydian scale, which in this case is the G major scale, which C major 7 is the 4 of. I'm getting deep in the weeds here on you guys, you folks. So anyway, what that is that, so a C major 7 chord with 9 sharp 11 and 13, okay, if you do it scale wise, it's a Lydian scale. But I don't know anybody that sings a harmony part by singing up a Lydian scale or singing up any scale. If I'm singing and someone is doing harmony with me and I'm going da da, they're finding a note related to me. They're not going do re mi. No, they're going do flat 7. Okay, they're finding a note related. Okay, so no one's running up a scale. Chord scale relationships started way after. I don't think Charlie Parker knew what a Lydian flat 7 scale was, and or an altered dominant, and God knows George Benson. Everything's based on harmonies and melody, and so when I improvise, I'm thinking of chord tones and extensions, and use all 12 notes and make them resolve. So anyway, getting back to the diatonic system. So within the world of diatonic, the diatonic world, there are two sounds, and they are separated by tonic and dominant. So, and in this case, the F, or the 4th degree, is the most active tone in a major scale. Now, there are other scales, and I'm going to get, again, deep in the weeds. There are other scales, harmonic minor, that have its own set of its diatonic system of what's dominant and what's tonic in harmonic minor. Okay, one scale that does not have a diatonic system is the jazz harmonic minor, or melodic minor, not traditional, which goes up one way and down the other, but a jazz melodic minor. That's the terminology from Berkeley days. Okay, that any chord is the same as any other chord. Depends on just what the bass player wants to put in the root. So there's no real internal struggle in that chord. So there are a lot of people that will do a chord melody and use that as one of their main tools to harmonize. So everything. So for instance, if a C melodic minor is C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C. Okay. So, and in that, if you want to do the modal thing, there's the altered dominant called mode. There's Lydian flat 7, but if you harmonize every one of them in a diatonic system, every note there, every chord there, can be replaced for each other. Okay, so if this is a here, okay, so this is an E flat major 7 augmented, okay, or sharp 5, which is also a C minor. So any chord that lives in the realm of that diatonic system is one and the same chord, just different groups of notes you can play, and they can be in replace of each other. Now, does that make it pretty convoluted? Yes. Can you make use of them within the other systems? Sure. Okay. It's great to go like this, 2, 5, and now I use the C major 7 sharp 5, or augmented major 7. Okay, or okay for a G7, which is an A triad with the flat 7 in the bass. Okay, beautiful sounds. And mixed with all your other stuff, work great. They work great. So anyway, I'm getting deep in the weeds. I'm sorry. But bringing it all back to square one. Diatonic system, 2 basic sounds. I marry the subdominant sound with the dominant sound, as did Charlie Parker, as did George. Most musicians, if you're playing on a rock and roll blues and the chord is G7. Yeah, could you play D minor 7 and marry it to that? Sure. It's going to make it sound like a G7 sus4 chord if you're targeting the C natural. But in most any other realm, 2/5 is one sound. Okay, 2 prepares you for the 5, but it doesn't necessarily have to. If you analyze the stuff we talked about of Charlie Parker in the past weeks, and you'll notice that the chord symbol says C7 or it says G minor, but he plays some of the same exact lines. And like Barry Harris said, G minor and C7 is nothing more than the G minor 6 chord, all the same sounds. So, any questions about that? Any questions about nothing but the blues? I hope there's some ideas in there that you can abscond with and make use of, so that you don't find yourself playing things exactly like the record. Do the study, take it, make it part of your repertoire, and have it come out spontaneously, and now you own it. On Saturday, I'm doing my guitar chat. I'm going to do it at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. I'm doing it with the before-mentioned Barry Green, who heads up the guitar department and maybe even the jazz department, I'm not certain, of the University of Northern Florida. He and I got to visit, and I guess we'll soon be back to being neighbors again, since I'll be moving to St. Augustine at some point in the not-too-distant future. But anyway, check him out, man. Wonderful, wonderful guitar player. I'm very proud of him. He was a joy to teach back when he was like 14 years old. Anything I dumped on him, he came back and tore up. I can tell you, early on, I'll have to double check with him. I think he was like 14. He was in high school. And my former music director became the music director of his high school in a neighboring town, and called me and asked me to take him on. And it was a joy to teach him. And got him into Berkeley. He got in there with flying colors, and was wonderfully prepared. I can say this as a teacher, and I think he'll agree with me when we chat. All a teacher can do or hope to do is have his students eclipse where they were at the same time in their life. And I can certainly say he did that. I had him first through the first 2 Berkeley books before he left high school, at least the first 2. Now, I wasn't. When I was in high school, the first Berkeley book finally came out. My teacher then put me through it, so I knew that one when I got to Berkeley. But he was, he was prepared. And you want to have your students eclipse you until they get to a point where now they have their own voice, and you appreciate them for their individuality on how they approach music, guitar, I guess life in general. Barry has his great voice. He has his way to communicate with his students. So check him out if you haven't. He's on YouTube. He has a great teaching practice on YouTube, as well as I'll tell you, when I got to St. Augustine, which is not far from Jacksonville, where he is and where he teaches, I was introduced, which makes me very proud, as Barry Green's former teacher. So he made a legend for himself there, and greatly deserved. So tune in for that. We're going to be talking about funny anecdotes, licks, inspiration, students, the music education at this point in the world, improvisation, jazz, blues, what have you. So noon on Saturday. I'm going to try to do a guitar chat every so many weeks on a Saturday. Last time I had my buddy John Tropez, who, pretty well known and big part of the back then studio scene, I guess New York's version of the Wrecking Crew. And that was a fun chat. I'm going to in the future have a lot of other people, maybe some rock, some people that you know from the rock world, that we can chat about. So a lot of things, I'll get Richie Hart from Berkeley or Larry Bayonne or somebody, but it'll be a fun conversation, engaging. Um, anyway, it's a little after 5. I'm going to let everybody go. Enjoy your Thursday night. Is there anything of question of stuff that I've discussed? And I covered a lot, so I'm so glad you guys can rewind it and listen to my ranting. I hope some of the stuff I threw against the wall sticks, and if not now, sticks later or sticks at some point. Any questions, Clive? Any questions? Is my buddy Mary still out there? I'm going to give it a few minutes, and then I'll sign off. everybody. Thank you, guys. Um, so it's always a pleasure having everybody here. Spread the word. Tell people to subscribe. You know, it's growing slowly, but it's still a joy to do. I'm not here for, you know, for a popularity contest. So, shoot me questions. You can find my email, um, and you can find my website. So track me down. I'm fine with answering any questions at any time. Um, I just realized Clive is saying good evening. Yeah, I guess it is evening here. It's kind of it's martini time actually. So, all right, everybody, stay safe. It's always a blast. Bless you all, and I'll chat soon. All right, be well.